Is that door propped open?
And we're ready to go.
Awesome. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Hawaii Board of Nursing. It is someday. I don't even know what month it is. August? It's August 6th. Before we get started with the meeting, we're going to listen to a video about how to participate in virtual board meetings.
Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is board member Y, and this is board member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the Raise Hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras.
Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
Okay, sorry, I was surveying the environment. Hi, everybody. Hi. All right, before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and take a roll call of our board members. As a reminder for those board members who are attending virtually, please indicate if you are alone in your location. I am Carrie Oliveira. I'm the chair. I am present here. Okay. Rebecca Moore.
Here.
Vice Chair Kuo.
Here.
Darren Dunbar.
Here.
Terrence Aratani.
Present and alone.
Thank you. Sherry Shields Hansen.
Present and alone.
Thank you very much. And that is our whole board. Correct. Yep. We are all here. We do have a quorum, so we can proceed. I've lost my agenda. All right. So first thing on the agenda is the approval of the open and executive session minutes from July 2, 2026. Does any board member have any comments, revisions, et cetera, on either set of minutes? If we need to discuss the contents of executive session, we can call an executive session to do that.
No comment.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as circulated?
Mrs. Bradley, so moved.
Thank you for the motion. Is there a second?
This is second.
Thank you for the second. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Thank you very much for that. All right. Is it for nursing ready?
I have learned hold it up before the meeting. You guys are so fat.
All right, we are going to go on to our next agenda item, which is reports from our local nursing organizations. We're going to begin with a report from the Hawaii State Center for Nursing, Director Reichart.
Aloha kakahiaka. Good morning. All right. Laura Reichart, Director of the Hawaii State Center for Nursing. We've got 3 updates for you all today. The first is related to research, which is one of our mandates. Our researcher is working on 2 upcoming reports, education capacity report for annual or academic year 24-25, and the workforce supply survey special report on retention and well-being. Some highlights from the ed capacity report are that for the first time in nearly 6 years, our state schools reported a reduction in full-time faculty vacancies. Though filling vacancies remains the prevailing one for schools. So it's getting better, but it's still hard. Enrollment demand for pre-licensed nursing education programs continues to far exceed capacity. So young people and any people really are still looking at nursing as a favorable career. We also celebrate the substantial 34% increase in LPN capacity due to the expansion at UH Maui College, because that is serving, it is improving our woefully undersupplied LPN workforce. So they are doing great work over there in Maui. As for retention, 67, and this is for the well-being and retention report. As for retention, 67% of nurses are satisfied or very satisfied in their current role. Long-term care has the lowest satisfaction of all setting groups, with only 57% reporting satisfaction. And the longer a nurse has been in the profession, the more likely they are to report being satisfied with their current job. And 53% of nurses have been working in their current position for 5 years or longer, as well as 67% of nurses report planning to stay in their current position for at least next year. So all of that is saying, you know, there was a couple years where it was awful. And I think we can say that we're moving out of that awfulness. Also, there was a couple years where we had a really transient workforce. We had a lot of travel nurses, a lot of nurses moving out of their long-term position to take travel gigs. What we're starting to see, if more than half, 53, have been in the position for more than 5 years, we're seeing that stabilization. So people are returning to long-term employment. And I think that's important to know as a workforce trend for all. Related to residencies, this is one of our major initiatives under our recruitment and retention mandates. And as we work to expand our residencies in our rural areas, we're accomplishing 3 things. One is preparing the unit for the residency by including in the design more clinical nurse educator training, specialty training for the incumbent nurse, the staff nurses, and certification support for unit-based nurses, as well as the traditional components of preceptor training and nurse residency curriculum and support. We're also working with long-term care facilities to expand residencies in those settings. So we went from 2 facilities to 7, which is so exciting, and improving recruitment and retention supports in underrepresented settings. And finally, we're working with the Rural Health Transformation Program's Home Run initiative on workforce development support to fund these initiatives, which has been very helpful. And then our last update is our motto with our rural residencies is preparing the unit for the residency. So we have to recognize that the whole unit has to be ready, or else those residencies are and then finally, we have 2 upcoming events. The first is NP Week, and actually Nikki, who is behind us, is one of the co-chairs for that. That will be November 13th at Alohilani, and the website, the link is on our main webpage, and I'll put it in the notes. And our Hawaii Nursing Scientific Symposium is February 19th, also at the Alohilani, and we have a call for abstracts and award nominations. So recognize good nurses. The website is also on the webpage is also it's clearly on our website.
Any questions
Fine.
for Director Reichart?
There's none.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We appreciate your report.
Thank you. And good job, PVL, for all of the licensing that's been processed.
Always. Thank you. All right. I lost my. You can. Okay. Next is item 3B, a report from the Hawaii American Nurses Association, Denise Cohen, or other representative from Hawaii ANA.
Denise Cohen is doing a Red Cross service in Washington for the wildfires right now.
Oh, yeah. Okay, maybe unavailable. Thank you, Denise, for that emergency response. There is, board members, you do have a report from ANA in your packet, so just FYIs about things that ANA is working on. So any comment, testimony, et cetera, on the ANA report?
There's none.
Thank you, Seth. All right. Next item is National Council of State Boards of Nursing, otherwise known as NCSBN Scientific Symposium Report. Rebecca Moore, you attended.
I did. It was great.
Tell
Lots
me
of
more.
information. Okay, so profiling nurses who experience high levels of burnout,
Nurse respondents who are age 55 and older reported feeling burned out less than nurses in younger groups. RNs who work as travel nurses actually experience higher levels of feeling burnout or at the end of their rope than RNs not serving in this role. So hospital settings, which I thought was interesting. They really needed to take care of our travel nurses. Feeling burned out or at the end of their rope is more frequent among RNs and LPNs who experienced an increased workload. The study showed respondents who left nursing reported feeling burned out or at the end of the rope more often than nurses who did not. So
Shocking.
I know. Impact of employee assistant programs on substance abuse in nurses. Their recommendations are replace termination with treatment-focused response to support recovery and retention, keep nurses employees, allow them to engage in treatment, early identification and reach out. More education is needed for managers and supervisors and those who have a duty to report, especially clinical coordinators or charge nurses, which I thought was interesting.
Education related to like identifying.
Duty to, how your duty to report,
Got
who to
it.
report to, level of hierarchy, Clear return to work plans help both employees and nurse navigate recovery safely, formal coordination mechanisms across the systems, structured processes while maintaining confidentiality, and workplace policies to help shape recovery pathways. I didn't know that you cannot participate if you obviously get fired and then you can't get to your EAP and then so on and forth.
Right.
So forth.
Yes.
Nurses for policy evaluation of nurse regulatory less legislation in Pennsylvania. This one was really interesting. They did a huge research on 1-to-4 ratio and staffing ratios, even though it's not mandated in Pennsylvania, who recently just joined the nurses compact licensure. But they said that 50% of rural nurses report safe workloads versus 40% urban. 90% of rural nurses intend to stay versus an 82% urban. 52% of rural nurses have worked 10 plus years at their hospital versus 41% urban. They said that one nurse costs about $61,000 for onboarding, training, and OT. So a 4-to-1 ratio would help avoid 1,087 departures, which would in turn $66 million annual cost and savings. They said that with an increased workload, an 8% in 30-day mortality, an 4% increase in 30-day readmissions, 2% in length of stay, lower age cap ratings, 3,040 deaths avoided per year, 2,111 readmissions avoided per year, and 77,591 fewer hospital days annually. Lots of money.
Lots of money.
A retrospective analysis of the NCLEX practice analysis. They said, sorry, looking through my.
You're like, what was
Yeah.
this presentation?
Oh, this was to see if doing their job clinical judgment.
Yeah.
And how they test that on the NCLEX. And they said that they have done a really good job at doing unfolding case studies. And although it took more time to answer those questions, that in turn, it took less time to answer unfolding case studies than other questions. So they said it is good. They said that since the new test versus the old test, there has been a regression to the mean on most of the answers. So they felt like their new test has fully demonstrated the clinical judgment, and they will continue to monitor how they do this. They are now at the beginning of their new cycle of analyzing the NCLEX. So there will be a new report in a couple of years. I thought this was a great one, and I think Sherry Schultz would agree. Quality indicators of nursing education programs. They said we had a lot of quality indicators. They said programs who have fewer than 3 deans or directors in 5 years that's a good start. Simulation faculty that are certified by SSH or have completed the 12 course of INACSL simulation education program.
Program offers support to those students with low socioeconomic status, has formal remediation for students with low academic performance. Program has 70% or higher on-time graduation rates. Program is older than 6 years old or older than 6. Clinical courses must have at least 50% direct patient care clinical experiences, and at least 35% of faculty are full-time. This is needed for advisement, curricular changes, and systematic evaluation. Credentials for the dean needs to be a doctorate, faculty with graduate degrees. Programs offer disability support, formal mentoring of full or new time faculty, formal orientation for adjunct faculty, policies in place for mediation of error and near misses. And then next steps are a sophisticated model that will identify the importance and redundant predicators among these reviewed quality indicators. So it was a lot of great information. I also typed it up for you guys if you want one.
Thanks.
But it was really good. It just shows that they're doing good work.
There's a lot of research investigate, right? A lot of regulatory research, I don't think we think about, right? Is the investigation of things that get regulated in nursing, and that's what this is.
And I think what A&E is doing and you guys are doing is our research on burnout and well-being, I think will really help, feed into that. We are not participating in the one that you talked about was Nancy Spector.
Yeah.
And she said that we in Hawaii don't participate in the annual
education survey.
Yeah. And she said, so I thought that was interesting. There's like 8 other places, include US Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Washington, DC, and then other, but that they thought it would take more time to participate, but it actually took less time because it's all very laid out very plainly. And I was like, well,
one of my jobs is I'm the National Forum of State Nursing Workforce Centers, which is the Center for Nursing is a member of. One of their jobs is to look at the measurement of education programs. And I have, in the last 4 months, spent a lot of time looking at the NCSBN education instrument. It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't love it. It doesn't ask the questions that we do. I think our education survey, our annual report from the schools needs to be revised. And I have thoughts on how to do that, but their instrument, I don't think gets done what we need it to do. So I think there's a kind of ongoing conversation we can have about that. But yes, we do not currently participate in their survey.
No, but we do our survey with every relicensure every 2 years, right?
That's the nurses
Yeah.
do a survey. The schools also submit an annual report.
Okay.
I think this last year was the best survey.
Yeah.
This last round.
I think it was really pushed.
Right.
I don't
What do you
think,
mean? Oh, like in terms of response rates?
because I don't think a lot of people know about the importance of it.
I would agree with that.
So I think we need to get it out.
Tell your friends.
I did.
Good. Any questions, comments for Rebecca on the scientific symposium report? Testimony.
There's none, Chair.
Sherry is talking. Oh, Sherry, are you talking? You're muted though.
Please.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. That's great information.
Thank
And all that you said is, I absolutely agree with you.
They are evidence-based quality indicators, so that does make sense.
Yeah.
I didn't look if there's anybody in the gallery who has any questions. Awesome, brilliant. Thank you, by the way, for getting up whatever time you got up to do that, because it started at something like 4 o'clock in the morning, 5
Yeah,
o'clock in the morning.
3:30 in the morning.
Oh, okay. So,
Let me tell you, the first couple sessions I had to rewatch.
so
Sorry.
thank you for that. All right, we're gonna move on then to new business. Ooh, first thing is the board discussion on the formation of a PIG, which is such a weirdo acronym to have used, to call a permitted interaction group. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but our administrative rule 1689. So chapter 457 is the law. And chapter 457 allows the board to promulgate rules that kind of like function as our operation, how we operate and enforce the law. And there's some issues in the HAR. And so I would, we've had multiple conversations in this board, and the executive officers then put it on the agenda for us to have a conversation about forming a permitted interaction group to review the content of the administrative rules and make proposed revisions. So what would happen is if we agree to form a permitted interaction group, we would identify who's on the group. And the purpose of the group would be to review the rules and make recommendations to this board for possible revisions to the rules. So the PIG would present those recommendations to the board, and then in a subsequent meeting, we would vote on whether or not we want those recommendations for revisions to be adopted, and then we would commence with the actual process of changing the rules. So that is what is up for discussion at the moment. Discuss. How do we feel about you, Bradley? I need you to, your face is being very communicative, but I don't know how to read it.
How is this different from previous rules revision processes?
We did not form a permitted interaction group. So basically what previously happened in any other rules revision, at least in my time on the board,
Yeah.
the rules revisions were essentially made by the executive officers.
Got it.
And so then we were, kind of the regular process went, the board commented on those, and then there was an open testimony period, but we did not make the recommendations as a board.
Got it.
So that's why, for example, the exclusionary formulary is still in the HAR
Right.
because it wasn't a priority for the EOs, but it
Okay.
was a priority for us.
Yes,
So now we are going to drive the revisions to the rules if we form the PIG.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Yeah.
We haven't agreed to do that yet, so that's what we're
Okay.
discussing. So how do we feel about that?
I think it's fine. I've got no concerns.
Any board member wish to comment? Any questions, concerns? Okay.
Sounds like a great process. And you guys have an idea of what, where to start? Like, what are some things that need to be
I have so many
thought out
thoughts.
first?
I have many thoughts. Mostly it's points of friction, right? Is like anytime we're trying to enforce something or like that there's like, oh, the rules don't actually have language that allow us to do this. Or the rules are written in such a way we're forced into a box or whatever. So among the things that we'd be looking at would be the removal of exclusionary formulary, clarifying language around the educational programs, putting a limit potentially a total number of test attempts, for instance, like you can only remediate once.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Things that we would potentially recommend. So, Derek.
Would that be the work of the whole board and
Okay.
Board of Nursing meetings?
So, no. So a permitted interaction group allows us to form a subgroup from within the board. So the rules around that is the board has to be, the permitted interaction group has to be created by the board. It cannot have you cannot have the number of members that meets quorum. So it has to be less than the number of quorum. So for our board, it's 5. So the group would have to have fewer than 5 members in it in order for us not to have a quorum. And we meet outside the context of the board meeting. So that's basically the whole point, is that we don't have to be convened at a board meeting in order for those discussions to happen. DAG, stop me if I'm saying anything incorrect.
That's correct.
Okay, good. I see her nodding out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, yay!
Follow-up question, like the education committee, would
Yes.
it potentially, and I know this is maybe preemptive, could those meetings happen after the Board of Nursing meetings? So from a time alignment standpoint, rather than having something else on our calendar.
Potentially, I think is it reasonable, DAG, to assume that if once we decide who's gonna be on the PIG, we can discuss when we would meet?
Yes.
Following that, so that's what would happen there. So we'd find an amenable time for everybody, and it could be potentially a case that we do it online virtually, right? We don't have to necessarily convene in person.
Thanks.
That's correct.
Yay! I like it when I say things and then the lawyer's like, yes, well done. Okay, so any objections to the formation of a PIG?
No objections.
Seeing no objections online, okay. Anybody want to provide testimony on that from the public? Yes?
I'm so excited.
I will, thank you for that testimony. Now what we need to do is actually identify who's gonna be on the PIG. I would like to be on the PIG. I volunteer myself to be on the PIG because I have so many thoughts. I need at least one other person to join me on the PIG. Bradley and Rebecca.
Yeah.
Hey. Anybody else?
Did Sherry raise her hand?
Did Sherry raise her hand?
I saw a hand from Sherry.
I'm just not an attorney, and that's really, all that jargon is very difficult.
There's
Me too.
none of us is an attorney. That's why we have one.
Some of us in the room are, but I would do it, yes. I volunteer as well.
Okay, so 4 is the max that we can have.
Yeah, we cannot have any more.
We cannot have any more.
Do you really want to be on it? Because otherwise we got to duke it out.
No, I'm gonna volunteer.
Yeah,
for the next.
if Darren wants to do it,
Oh,
I.
yes! Teamwork makes the dream work. You guys are the best board ever.
Yeah,
So I would like to move that, oh wait, any other discussion? Discussion on, so right now, the proposed pig is me, Rebecca Moore, Bradley Quo, and Sherry Shields Hansen. Any discussion?
Can I just also point out
Yes.
to everyone that after the pig meets and the motions are made to accept or move forward with recommendations from the pig, then it comes back to PVL, and the entire process to usher through those amendments could take up to a year.
That's fine.
So the sooner that we move these discussions along, just kind of responding to Darren's question about when to meet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It would be.
so we can get this done, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for that provocation, EO. I appreciate that. Okay, so as quickly as possible, we would like to form this pig. So I would like to make a motion. I move that we form a pig for the, hold on, let me read it so I get the motion exactly right. That the Board of Nursing form a permitted interaction group to review the Hawaii Administrative Rules, Chapter 1689 for possible revisions pursuant to our right to do that under Hawaii Revised Statutes 92-2.5. The pig would constitute 4 members, including Carrie Oliveira, Rebecca Moore, Bradley Quo, and Sherry Shields Hansen. Is there a second?
Darren Dunbar, second.
Thank you, Darren, for the second. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Woohoo! I'm so excited. Oh, we're gonna do a good job for you guys. I'm really excited about this. Okay. We're gonna move on then to our next agenda item, which is the matter of a board discussion related to adding an additional member to the Education Committee. This one is me. I asked the EOs to put this on the agenda because I have a bee in my bonnet about this. Currently, our Education Committee comprises 2 members, and in my humble opinion, a committee does not constitute 2 people. That's a pair of humans, not a committee of people. But I also think that because I'm only one of 2 members on the committee. I'm terming off the board in June, so when I leave, it doesn't make sense that we have to start this process again after we've already lost a member. So it makes sense, A, that we get 3 members on the committee, and in order to facilitate the succession of the operation of that committee now before one of the members falls off, is my entire rationale for this decision. Discuss.
I have a question. Does
Yes.
the member have to be part of the board? So one of us in this room right now, or could we pull Karen back into just the Education Committee?
That's a great question. I actually don't know the answer to that question. Can we form a committee that does not fully comprise of board members?
But the committee is part of the board?
Yes.
Okay, then I don't think so, but I'll double check.
Okay.
We'll look into that. But that what I like about that question, Sherry, is that in other boards, and obviously they have different laws than us, but many other state boards of nursing have educational consultants that they will bring in for discussions on matters related to the governance and regulation of nursing education in their states, which we do not utilize. So that because there's only one educator on the board, I feel like that is a really good question. So if it is possible, I would absolutely ask your lawyer to consult, or any other educator for that matter. So yeah, I think that's a good question. Our DAG will look into that for us. Thank you for the question. Any other comments, discussion from the board?
I think it's reasonable.
I have one.
Yes, Terrence.
So if we cannot have a committee with a non-board member,
Yes.
can the AG look into seeing if the board can approve a committee to include non-board members?
I'll look into that.
Thank you.
That's a good suggestion.
Thank you, Terrence. I appreciate that. Thank you, DAG, for your research. Bradley?
Is this a question that we want to move quickly on? We can take some time to get some information.
Potentially. I mean, I think the board can at any time make revisions to its own committee, right? So if it is the case that the DAG finds that we can get an outside consultant or find some other way to bring in outside consultancy to the committee, we can always do that. Today's decision doesn't bind us.
Sure.
to preventing that. I think it is prudent for us. We're going into the timing on this. I do think I would like to do rather urgently because we are coming into the season where we would be looking at the school's annual reports, which is when we would be looking at whether or not the schools are meeting our expectations for their performance that their approval is sort of hinged on.
Right.
And so having another committee member to participate in that process, especially one who's going to be read in and continue that process going forward, I think is reasonable.
Yes, because we also have some upcoming issues that are, require attention. And it is hard when it's just Carrie and I.
Yeah.
So it would be great to have another committee member.
Thank you, Chair, for that. I appreciate that commentary. So any objections to a third board or third committee member? Anybody want to volunteer? Dunbar, yeah. All right. So Darren has volunteered.
Yay, thank you. Thank you.
I actually don't know what the rules around board committees are, if I'm totally honest with you, DAG. So I assume though that we cannot have more than a quorum of members on the committee.
I will look into that as well.
For the volunteers?
Nope.
We don't have an issue of 5, do we?
That would be a quorum, yes. Five creates.
Holding out on us? Is there something else going on here?
No, not at all. Okay, so does anybody else want to volunteer to be on the committee? I'll take a third, man. That's not even a problem. Okay, any comment from gallery? Ruben?
I'm Ruben Argel, from Washington State. I think I remember you, Terrence, from NCSBN meeting.
Yes.
The other Hawaii guy. So in Washington State, we have the same issue as you guys because we can only have 17 board members. So our status, okay? So what we do is in your provision, look into pro temps. Because in the committees I have, my subcommittees,
Yes.
as long as there's one board member, by default we'd end up being the chair, you can have pro temps appointed by the, so I'm kind of, I was kind of curious if you guys do that. I was waiting for that one because otherwise everybody will have 10 hats.
Correct, yes.
So that's why pro temp, and it's the chair's choice to approve that pro temp. That's the way ours is written. So I'm kind of curious if yours is, and you've heard of the term pro temp, right? DAG? So.
Oh, I don't know that we have that.
Yeah,
In our provision.
yeah, but that's, that's what we have. I'm like kind of curious because otherwise you'd be every committee.
Everywhere. I am always kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that suggestion. I appreciate that. Anybody else wish to provide testimony on this agenda item?
I do have a question real quick.
Bradley?
With that question that he posed, is it something that could be part of our administrative rules or does it have to be part of chapter 457?
That's a good question. I think how about we just assume that there's a lot we don't know about the committee and how it's functioning. And so the DAG is going to research the entirety of that matter for us. And so we will.
But as far as the rulemaking process, that would be something that could be added in HAR.
Okay.
Because HRS would have to go through the legislative
Right.
process,
Right.
but because the HRS already establishes the board
Right.
and their powers and duties, which do include education and
Oh,
all of that.
yes.
So I think that's what gives the board the authority and power to have the education committee.
Yeah.
And so, yes, to answer your question, HAR could be added, a rule in HAR to specify terms of the education committee or such that.
Or
But
committees in
again,
general, correct?
Correct, committees in
Okay.
general. But as Amy had mentioned, that process, the rulemaking process does tend to take
Yep.
over a
That's-
year or so.
To a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's say up to a year.
Okay, good question, Bradley. Thank you for that. Okay. So that said, I would like to make a motion to add Darren Dunbar to the Education Committee.
This is Bradley, so moved.
Is there a second? Oh, is that what did I make a
Did
motion?
you make a motion? Then I second.
Okay, Bradley seconds. Thanks, Seth, for paying attention. Bradley seconds. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Thank you, Darren Dunbar, for your willingness to serve on the committee. And thank you, DAG, for answering our ceaseless list of questions. Okay, we have a scope of practice inquiry. Yos, can I defer that one to you as to just introduce it as a subject matter because I don't have any background on this.
So this question came in from Karen Arnold, who is the program director at Charleston Southern University, and she did give us permission to use her name and identify her as the inquirer. Her question was specifically about whether an online course faculty member, so someone who's teaching an online course, overseeing a clinical practicum for MSN program, precepted by a Hawaii licensed RN, where the student is residing in Hawaii. So if they're if they're precepting a Hawaii-based student, does the faculty member have to be licensed? That's how I'm reading the question.
I know, I believe they do not. So as long as the faculty member's role is strictly administrative, then they just need a license in their home state. From accreditation information, that's what I know. So if it's just administrative, it's the faculty member, and they're being precepted by the nurse that has a Hawaii license, then all is well.
The preceptor has to be licensed.
Yes.
Yeah. I was not clear whether the faculty was also the preceptor.
Yeah, because there's a follow-up question where she asked, can the student complete precepted clinical hours with an RN license in Hawaii as part of her online program?
But she's being precepted by an RN here.
Yeah.
Yes, as long as
The
you're.
preceptor is local.
Yeah.
And licensed.
Yes,
And the student is local.
and then the administrative person is in wherever they're in. They don't need a license here.
Yeah, that person is in Charleston.
So I'm gonna be the dissenter here. Because here's the thing. Our students these students are operating here in the state. If they don't have somebody that's fully licensed in the state that's part of the faculty, are they going to be for certain covered by any malpractice that the university holds for the student?
Because the preceptor is not an employee of the school.
That's correct. That's correct.
You're asking if the preceptor would be covered or the student would be covered?
The student would be covered. Because at the end of the day, if the person responsible for that student, the faculty member, is not licensed, and if anything happens to a patient, will that student have proper malpractice coverage based on whatever happens?
I do not know the
That's
answer.
the
to
angle that I'm
question.
looking at.
But if they do harm to a patient in a clinical setting, they would have a preceptor in the clinical setting. So then they would be covered by that clinical preceptor and by the state or the school.
But we don't know that.
So in our response back to Karen, we can ask.
I'm
pose that
curious.
Question.
Also, I don't know if you know this. It's an online MSN. I'm guessing this person, the student, is already an RN getting their master's degree, but do we know if this is a master's entry nursing program?
Oh,
Licensure.
good question. Because otherwise they're
Those
already
students should be
under their own RN.
supervised by their faculty if they're pre-licensure. But if it's someone with a BSN who wants to get a master's and they're with another master's prepared nurse or higher. Yeah, it's a relevant question.
So I'm gonna read the email
If we're gonna respond to her, I'd be interested in knowing, is this a direct entry pre-licensure student or is this a graduate student?
Yeah, in case the response is somewhere here in her email, it said, she says, we have an MSN student who will begin her online program through our university in August. She will move to Hawaii during her time in our program. Therefore, her required clinical practicum will need to be with a preceptor licensed in Hawaii in either an academic or clinical setting. The online course faculty will work with the student to identify her chosen preceptor and will serve as a faculty of record for the course. Please note, the preceptor will be on site with the student. So is Hawaii RN licensure required for an online course faculty member overseeing an MSN clinical practicum precepted by a Hawaii licensed RN?
I know.
Based on that, no, I feel the preceptor is the one who needs to be. So, okay, but I'm just gonna say this for the record. I don't understand why faculty period, academic didactic faculty are exempt from the definition of your practice location is defined by the location of the patient. I don't know why we don't apply that same definition to students. Like, that is a weird move to me on that, but they're clearly, I understand the environment, right? The environment is such that nursing education, proliferation of online programs, it is impracticable to expect that every person with a part-time faculty appointment at Chamberlain University, wherever, and they have students everywhere, becomes impracticable. So if it is the case that we're not gonna apply the definition of you're licensed where you practice and where you practice is where your student is, we exempt faculty from that definition, then it does only matter where the clinical faculty is located. You must be
I'll
located.
share an experience. I had
Yes.
two graduate students from programs not in Hawaii. One was University of Alabama, the other was Chamberlain.
Okay.
Chamberlain, just as part of the ask, offered to make me guest faculty for the semester, so that covered that. I'm licensed in Hawaii and I now have guest faculty status for that semester.
Okay.
University of Alabama didn't offer that. They said they'd be open to it if that was required. Our director of Clin Ed looked into it and said it wasn't required. It was a non patient facing clinical. It was administrative. And their preceptor was master's prepared or higher and licensed in Hawaii. So in my N of 2 experience, those were the situations. And I would say, kind of what we've all said, that I think as long as the local preceptor is licensed, that would be the issue. I'm still curious to know, though, if they're
If it's a
a
method.
direct entry, because that's a different different bird.
I would agree with
You could
that.
also respond that Hawaii has 3 fantastic universities that this person could.
Four.
Oh, that's right.
Four
Sorry.
fantastic universities. Okay, so is the answer to the question contingent upon whether or not it's a MEPIN?
Well, I guess let's ask this question. I'll think out loud. If it is, does that change our approach or our response to this question?
No, because I don't think it does, right? Because whether it's a MEPIN or not, right? I think there's less risk, I think generally, if it's a post-licensed master's program. Because now what you're doing in whatever clinical setting, you're working under your own RN effectively, right? So I'm less concerned about what the preceptor is or isn't doing. I mean, still yet your clinical preceptor should be licensed. But the risk to the patient decreases when you have your own license. They may or may not be licensed in Hawaii, though. In that case, it does matter. So, okay, let's pretend that it's a MEPIN and they're not, or a post-licensed master's program and the person is not licensed in Hawaii, same amount of risk as if it's a MEPIN. You're working under the preceptor's licensure. Okay, you guys are nodding, I'm not saying crazy.
Well,
crap.
no,
Stuff.
where my mind is going, and this is probably not relevant to the detail, is a MEPIN student should be having direct clinical faculty supervision, and that's typically by someone.
Yes.
Faculty status with the university, whether it's
Yes.
guest and they're paid or not paid, or you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I've been adjunct in 9 places, so I kind of know how some of these things work, and I've been full-time in 2 places as a professor. So there's lots of ways to dice this up, but now that online education is more prevalent than it was when I was doing faculty things have changed. So I don't know how others feel. I'm okay moving past it if I'm the only one with any sort of pause around if it's a MEPIN student, and that person being faculty of that university or not. If I'm the only one that thinks that way, I'm fine that we just say, okay, Darren, thank you for contributing.
No, I think that's a really important consideration, but I also think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? Because it's in either case, it's the preceptor who's in the clinical setting, supervising that instruction for that student.
Licensed in that state.
Yep.
I disagree,
Okay.
because my concern still remains for malpractice coverage from the school for the student. If the student makes a mistake,
Mm-hmm.
then if the school were to do like a
Guest faculty.
guest faculty, perfect, done. That preceptor who is now guest faculty
Is
is,
an entity of that university
Correct.
who would own the responsibility of whatever the situation.
But when you sign up as a preceptor, I feel like you're signing to take on that responsibility.
so is the preceptor covered by malpractice from the university?
It wouldn't,
No, but also my
matter.
question that
it would be my own license, whether or not I was a adjunct.
I think it would matter.
Well, okay, so but my question to you,
Weren't-
Bradley, is what is the statutory basis to determine that a person must be licensed on the basis of malpractice insurance?
That's correct. But I'm also looking at this from a
Broader public protection standpoint.
Correct.
I feel you, but that doesn't exempt us from having a
And the
statutory
student
basis.
protection.
I got, yes, the consumer is the student we're protecting in this case, yes. We still need a statutory basis for requiring that you must be covered by malpractice insurance, which doesn't not mentioned in our statute anywhere.
Mhm.
So I would have a hard time, I feel like, making a legal argument for that, and then I'm over here looking at the lawyer.
You could ask that question again, because I was looking into that committee thing.
Oh, okay, that's fair. So the conversation is, Bradley's concerned about the protection of a student enrolled in a program whose faculty, the preceptor, is not a faculty member of an academic program, but they are overseeing the clinical education.
Okay.
There's no protection, right, for a preceptor who's not employed by the school. And so Bradley is wondering whether or not we can say, because the preceptor is not an employee of the school, that any insurance, malpractice insurance protection that the school would provide to its instructors would not extend to the preceptor. And therefore then would the student be placed at undue risk by having a preceptor who's not licensed in our state?
No, the preceptor.
But not the preceptor is, but the
The
faculty,
faculty.
the clinical faculty who's a step removed away from the preceptor. Basically, the problem Bradley's concern is if the preceptor doesn't work for the school, does any malpractice insurance protection provided by the school extend to the preceptor and therefore the student? Is that a summary of the situation?
Cool.
Can we?
I don't know, because.
Yeah, right, that's really
Regarding malpractice insurance.
correct,
Okay.
which I don't know that.
But if I would take that one step further.
Okay.
And so, because I precepted a lot of MSN students from Grand Canyon University, but we precepted at Hilo Benioff Medical Center.
Yep.
And I'm an employee there.
Yep,
I'm a preceptor there, so
Yep.
they would protect me.
right.
And I wouldn't have to have the school of nursing protect me. Because I am followed by where I'm precepting in my employment.
Yes, but the hospital, that medical center, does not protect the student. Protects you.
Yeah, but the student
But
is
not the
covered
student.
under their school.
Hopefully.
Okay, but is this regarding 4C?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it sounds like the original question is regarding licensure though.
Correct.
Whether licensure is required.
Yes.
And
So
because this is the whole yeah.
So the consensus
Part of it,
so
yeah,
far,
outside of
right.
especially the board, so.
Okay, that was the answer I was looking for.
What was the answer?
It's outside the board's purview to be looking at insurance.
However, if we're gonna ask some questions, and I know this is just our process where I'm at, but I believe several other institutions do the same thing. That institution is required to have a contract with the institution where the student will be performing their
That is
clinical,
correct.
even if it's non-patient facing.
Yeah.
So, and then in Queen's language, we won't accept a student for any sort of internship, clinical experience, nursing or otherwise, if their university does not provide malpractice insurance. So I'd be curious to understand, do they have a contract with the preceptor, the employer of the preceptor, who's going to precept the student unless that preceptor is the employer?
Okay, so
Do clinical in your practice.
I'm gonna intercept this entire conversation and draw us back to the thing that the board has authority to determine, which is whether or not the preceptor is required to be, or the faculty, not the preceptor, the faculty in the online program is required to have a license in order for that student to have a clinical experience in Hawaii.
We all agreed.
I understand that there are concerns around coverage and protection, and that is nothing to do with whether or not a person needs to be licensed in the state. So I need us to be like over here. The consensus I'm hearing so far from the board is no, the preceptor does, the clinical the regular faculty, the didactic faculty on the online program does not. You can vote no, Bradley.
Oh, I will.
Okay. Any other discussion? Sherry?
No, that's exactly right.
Okay. Is there any testimony from the public on this matter?
I have,
Mickey?
hello, hi.
Hi, come.
Uh,
You can introduce yourself to the board. I appreciate that.
Hello, I am Dr. Miki Miura. I am a nurse practitioner. My clinical practice, the main job is at Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Center. I'm also Hawaii State Liaison for American Association of Nurse Practitioners, but I'm not here on behalf of ANP. It's just one of my duty. I am very passionate a preceptor, and I really like the point that Bradley brought up. I think there's two different topics going on, but I think we do have to qualify on the malpractice issue, whether here or other places. Because I believe that when I sign up for malpractice insurance through my employer, it didn't ask about whether I'm gonna precept or not. So I believe it's not gonna cover in relation to preceptorship. So I think that's something that we need to address, but it could be separate from this issue. I think it's two different topics that we're discussing here. But I really appreciate that you brought up the topic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Hawaii's joining the compact, the RN compact?
No,
Okay.
not right now.
Okay, because yeah, South Carolina is, that's why, that would have been a moot point, so, yeah.
Right, yes, that would,
Yet another reason.
that would be a moot point,
In
correct?
favor of the,
Oh, cause yeah, okay.
Yeah, it would be irrelevant,
all the points.
assuming that the faculty had a multi-state license. Okay, so yes, there is some question around insurance and whatnot, which is not materially relevant to the board's making a decision on whether a person needs to be licensed. So I would move that the board's opinion in response to this inquiry, non-binding on the board, informal opinion only based on the information provided in the inquiry, is that the preceptor must be licensed to practice in Hawaii, but the faculty member in the online program does not. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
I'll take Sherry Shields' enthusiastic second on that motion. Does any board member wish to vote no on this motion?
Bradley,
Bradley is a no. Any board member wish to recuse or abstain? Board members voting aye, or everybody else? I'm gonna do a roll call vote just so it's unambiguous. Sherry,
Aye.
Terrence,
Aye.
Darren,
Aye.
Becca.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. That's 5, the motion carries. Thank you for that discussion and the dissent, Bradley. I appreciate that. Okay, we are moving on then to the matter of applications. Okay, I do see that we have several people here who are applicants whose applications are being under consideration. Is anybody who's not an applicant want to provide testimony on the agenda item related to applications? Okay, so in general, when we're looking at applications, if we have questions for the applicants, we will pull you into the executive session with us and give you the opportunity to make a statement to the board on that. So if you'll just hold tight when we get to your application in the executive session, we will call you in if we have questions. Okay, so we're going to go into executive session because there's confidential information we want to consult with our attorney, and Chapter 92 says we can do that. So pursuant to Chapter 92-4, Chapter 292-5, to consider and evaluate personal information relating to individuals who are applying for licensure and to consult with our attorney, I would like to move that the board go into executive session. Is there a second?
Second, Darren Dunbar.
Darren, thank you for the second. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion carries. We lost Sherry Shield Hansen.
I think she moved into exec already.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a yes.
She jumped ahead before that, but I still have 5 for the motion. So we still pass. The motion carries. Thank you very much. We're in exec. If we can have our guest Not feel well right now. Okay. Okay. We are back. That's my butt.
I will switch it.
Flip me around, Seth.
There you go.
Thanks. Still my butt. There we go. Okay. Thank you very much. All right, we're resuming our agenda on agenda item number 5, which is related to applications. A5 is the ratification lists. And so I would like to make a motion to approve the ratification lists for LPNs, RNs, APRNs, prescriptive authority, and temporary permits as appended to this agenda. Is there a second?
Bradley, I'll second.
Thank you, Bradley. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. All right, I'm going to ask for motions on these applications one at a time. Okay, is there a motion related to the application for licensed practical nurse for Lisa Kim?
This is Bradley. I move to defer this application based on HRS 436B19A9 until we have more information related to mental health and substance use assessment.
Is there a second?
Darren Dunbar, second.
Thank you, Darren, for the second. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Is there a motion related to the nurse license application for LPN Shandi Malari?
This is Bradley. I move to approve the application by exam.
Is there a second?
This is Becca. Second.
Thank you, Becca. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Is there a motion related to the application for RN licensure for Michael Pietoso?
This is Bradley. I move to approve this application with condition based on 436B19.8. Conditions being refresher course and successful passing of the NCLEX.
The completion of a refresher course before taking the NCLEX.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yes, and then taking and passing the NCLEX.
Correct.
Magical. Is there a second? I will second that motion. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse, or abstain from voting on that motion?
Darren Dunbar, abstain.
Darren is abstaining from the vote. Okay, so 1 abstention. I have 5. Any abstentions, recusals, or no's? Others? Okay, that's 5 ayes. That's a majority. The ayes have it. The motion carries. And on the matter of the application for Julia Vo for RN.
This is Bradley. I make a motion to defer this application based on HRS 436B10A9 until we receive further information from the Texas Board of Nursing.
Darren Dunbar, second.
The second on that motion. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Okay. All right. We just opened that door, but we have to go into recess and shut the door again. So the board at this time is going to go into recess to deal with adjudicatory matters pursuant to Chapter 91 to deliberate on settlement agreements. Sorry, we're recessing. So we're going to kick you out again.
Oh, no, sorry.
Allowing me to do my golf shopping. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I am not well right now. No, I don't know. I'm feeling my head is gonna pop off. You want, I would take over? Yeah, Bradley, you want to take over? No. No, we're just gonna discuss these adjudicatory matters. Are we clear, Seth?
We're gonna move us into another room.
Oh, okay.
See.
I can pan you too.
I feel like I need to get a dumb fan in my desk.
I was gonna say, I have a handheld fan in my desk. I have one in each of my bags now. So
You're dying.
Having an issue here.
You're having a what?
Having an issue here.
It's okay.
Apologies. Oh, I was gonna say somebody just had their hand up, but he left.
Oh,
I've been my.
was it Michael?
Yeah,
He left?
yeah,
Oh, bummer. It's okay. He'll get correspondence from the EOs.
okay.
Seth, what happened to your breakout rooms?
I thought we were looking good. But
Okay.
Sherry has to go, but she's rushing us along.
Okay.
Get her done.
Okie dokie. So do we have to say what the decisions were on the adjudicatory matters?
Those. I mean, yeah, it's optional. I don't think it's required because it's outside of chapter 92, so it's outside of the sunshine law rules.
Okay.
So there's no requirement for open meeting.
Okay. So the board did discuss and vote on all of the chapter 91 adjudicatory matters in executive or in recess. Agenda item number 7 is our next meeting, which will be on September 3rd. I'm sorry, how are we in September already? I think I just had Christmas.
Shopping for
September 3rd, 2026, 9 a.m. in this room. We do expect an education committee meeting to follow that. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
If any board member is unable to attend that meeting, please let the executive officers know as soon as you know, because we, as you can see, this is the entirety of us and we need to maintain quorum, which is 5. So we need to know if we don't have quorum for a meeting as soon as possible. And with that brings us to the end of the agenda. We are adjourned. Mahalo nui, ahui ho.
Oh.